Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Premier League Talk of the new season. It's a thing I used to do back in the day whereby I'd pick out three games from the weekend that we've just seen. I appreciate there is Monday Night Football tonight, but three games from the weekend, and we delve into what happened and the big talking points coming from the game. And what a weekend in the Premier League we just had. But let's get into our three games. So the first game we're going to talk about is obviously Nottingham Forest nil, Chelsea 3 at the City Ground in the early kickoff on Saturday. Which the big news coming out of that game was obviously Ange Postecoglu lost his job. Now, when you look at it, he had 8 games in charge of Nottingham Forest in 39 days, which I do think is a bit harsh. But there were 6 losses, 2 draws, and the only point he picked up in the Premier League was a game against Burnley, which arguably is a game that you would expect a Forest manager to be winning, especially considering the team they have and how well they've done in the past few years. I think, look, it was never going to be easy to transition from Nuno's style of play to Ange. I think they're very different. Under Nuno, they were more of a sit back and we'll hit you on the counter attack, and we're lightning quick on the counter attack, and they really, really punish teams. Whereas Postecoglu, obviously, we know it's all about high risk, high energy football. It's just who we are, mate. That was a horrific, horrific accent, but you get my point. And less than a month. Well, it's been over a month now, but it's not a lot of time for players to be able to adapt to a new system. And you saw people like Morgan Gibbs White coming out saying that they will be unstoppable once they learn how to use the new system. And I think there's genuine consensus from within the Forest camp that they're sad that Postecoglu's gone. But we know what Marinakis is like. If he doesn't get results, he will get rid of managers. But I think this is a clear lesson as to why, when it's going well, I appreciate there might have been tensions between Marinakis and Nuno, or Nuno and Edu. You stick with it, because Nuno obviously had something. He had a system going at Forest. And now, obviously, they're left searching for another manager, and it looks like it could be Sean Dyche. Roberto Mancini's been linked as well. It looks like it will be Dyche, though, and I'd probably go with Dyche. Because the situation that Forest are in right now, is it a situation where they are looking to survive in the Premier League? I don't think it's that drastic yet, because we are only 8 games in, but I think when you look at it, he kind of had to make the change now, because it could get to that point. So that's Forest sort of, and even so, in the game itself, let's get back on the game. I don't think Forest were that bad. In the first half especially, I thought they were actually pretty decent. Gibbs White had a couple of good chances. They were pinning Chelsea back. They were getting on the ball, getting forward, and as I say, had a couple of good chances. But in the second half, when you let a team like Chelsea in, who they're not necessarily the most confident on the ball, but they will hurt you if you give them the chances, you're not going to turn it around. And 3-0 was a comfortable scoreline, and at the end of the day, it probably reflected the game. And to talk about Chelsea, I mean, wow, wow, wow. I have to say, they have got some top class players, like Josh Achampong, who scored their first goal. He looks like a proper centre-back. And I think he's a makeshift centre-back as well. I mean, you'll have to correct me there, Chelsea fans, if I'm wrong. But I get the feeling that, they've got injuries at the moment. You look at Cole Palmer, for example. When these players come back, they are a seriously, seriously threatening side. And we saw that when they beat Liverpool 2-1. Obviously, they had the blips against Brighton. But once it starts clicking, the wheels will turn for Maresca. And I do think they're a dangerous side. I think, as I kind of thought before the start of the season, that the top four was set, and that it would be Arsenal, Liverpool and City in whatever order fighting for the title, and then Chelsea would be pretty comfortably fourth. And I'm still sticking with that, because I think, the Club World Cup wasn't a fluke. For as much as people might want to try and downplay the size and the grandeur of the tournament, it's not a fluke. They did bloody well to get there and to win that, and to the performance they put in against PSG in the final especially. They have got a quality side. And yeah, 3 points for them. That takes them up to 5th place now. They have been struggling. 5th place. But yeah, it's all about momentum for Chelsea. The second game I want to talk about is, of course, Crystal Palace 3, Bournemouth 3 at Selhurst Park on Saturday afternoon as well. And without a shadow of a doubt, entertainment game of the weekend. Without a shadow of a doubt. Krupi, the Bournemouth youngster, 19 years old, nets a brace for them, which is incredible. And then Mateta bags a hat-trick for Crystal Palace, and could have even had 4 if he hadn't skied that one over the bar. But let's delve into the game and, the implications. I thought on the balance of it, Bournemouth, they started the game massively as in a much better position than Crystal Palace. They were attacking, they were on the front foot, clearly trying to pin Palace back, which, Palace, they're doing well this season. They're in eighth place now, I mean, lost. But before that, they've been doing well. And they were the last side to lose in the league. They the last side to lose their unbeaten record. Um, and yeah, I think Bournemouth, they just play such a high tempo football whereby if you let them into the game, they will make the most of it. And I think that's what Palace were doing too early in the first half. Obviously, they were able to get a foothold back in the game, gain some control. Two quick fire goals as well from Mateta. And then a last minute penalty after, I think it was Tavernier who scored for Bournemouth to make it 3-2. But what a game. Seriously, what a game. And if we talk about the implications, obviously Palace, they're down to eighth now, but nowhere near out of it. They're 1 point off the top four. And Bournemouth themselves are sat in third, and they were top of the league actually for a small while they were beating Palace. So two sides with terrific starts to the season, and again, two sides that arguably should be pushing for European football. I think the managers, the squads they have, especially in Palace's size, you expect them to lose Gahey next summer because obviously they managed to keep hold of him last summer. They've got to capitalise, and I appreciate the Palace already to have European football through the Conference League, so that might become a bit of a distraction. But Bournemouth as well. I mean, what a team! And Semenyo, I thought, didn't really have that much of an impact in the game, but they've got some incredible players between the two of them. So I think European football is definitely a push and something that they should be looking to achieve. But yeah, let me know what you think. And then finally, it wouldn't be right to ignore Liverpool against Manchester United yesterday afternoon at Anfield in the 4:30 kickoff. Definitely not the result that I was expecting whatsoever. And we'll start with Man United because I have to say the lineup that when it came out did not give me much confidence whatsoever. I think I have issues with Fernandes playing in central midfield, but him and Casemiro yesterday worked a treat, and Dallo and Ahmad as the wing backs. Mount on the left wing actually had a pretty good game, which I was very sceptical about beforehand because obviously they didn't go with a striker and they pushed Cunha up front, who I thought was phenomenal, and in my opinion, Man United's man of the match because he was pulling the strings all the time. Yeah, look, this has got to be the start of something for Amorim. As I think a lot of pundits were saying yesterday, they can't go back into their shape now and be like, oh, well, we've beaten Liverpool at Anfield. Yes, that's the result. This has to be the start. And as I say, they're into the top half now. They're in ninth, which is great for them because obviously they've been struggling quite a lot at the start of the season. You think like Grimsby, especially, I know that was in the league, but that's a severe low point. Yeah, it was so important. And as I say, it's their first league win at Anfield since 2014, but their first win at Anfield in general in 10 years, which is just crazy when you think about a club the size of Man United, even though it is Liverpool. 10 years, it's mental. So fair play to them. And the game itself, I thought it ebbed and flowed. I mean, Liverpool had the chances. Gakpo hits the post twice, also misses a sitter of a header to make it 2-2. But United took their chances. And I mean, the first goal, Liverpool weren't switched on and Mbeumo takes a chance. And to be fair, there is arguably a degree of controversy, with McAllister. Should the referee have blown up for a head injury? I think yes, probably should. But I can understand at the same time why he didn't, arguably because, Van Dijk's the one who's done it. But even then, it's a head injury, so who knows? But yeah, and then Maguire's goal, what a ball from Fernandes. And Maguire's just there and puts it in the back of the net. I mean, it's great effort. And what a result for United. But Liverpool, we need to talk about Liverpool because this is 4 losses in a row for them now after an international break as well. So it's continued. That's my point. What does he do? What does Slot actually do? Because for me, he started his the midfield three that he's most confident in yesterday. Gravenberch, McAllister and Szoboszlai, the midfield that dominated matches for him last season, ultimately helped them steamroll their way to the title. I think Ekitike has to start over Isak. I think he brings more to that Liverpool team, and at the moment he's just on better form. You think he's scoring goals, he looks fit, he looks energetic, and he looks up for it. Isak had a big chance yesterday, which, yes, it's tough because he's running away from goal and he's got to put it across the keeper, but arguably I think if he's got confidence, i.e. he's playing in a Newcastle shirt, he tucks that away. So that was surprising for me. But Salah, again, this is another person we need to talk about. What has happened to Mohamed Salah? Where is he? Who's playing instead of him? Who is that Mohamed Salah? He just, I think the time has come now where you've sort of got to sit there and think maybe he just needs to be taken out of the side. And you leave Gakpo and you put Ekitike to the right or up front, and then you've got Wirtz or. I mean, again, you think about the front five that Liverpool have got: Gakpo, Isak, Ekitike, Salah, and Wirtz. Okay, you put Wirtz on the right, Gakpo on the left, and you put Ekitike up front. I think that's the front three that he's got to start trialing midweek. I think they're playing. I can't remember who they're playing midweek. Champions League. They're away though. I do know that. But Isak has to come outside, and I think Salah has to come outside because Isak, for me, it's not that he doesn't look fit; he just looks devoid of confidence, completely devoid of confidence. And Salah, I don't know what's going on. Like he had a gilt-edged chance yesterday where he put it wide on the volley. It sat up perfectly for him. In previous seasons, other versions of Mo Salah, you'd expect him to absolutely bury that. But yeah, as I say, Liverpool, they're now 4 points behind Arsenal, at the top of the league, and they played the same amount of games. And 1 point behind Man City. They have to play each other within the next 3 weeks, which should be a very interesting game, just before the next international break. But it's difficult to see where this turnaround for Liverpool's going to come, but it has to come around soon if they want to continue to fight for the title, because it does get to the point where if Arsenal or Man City get too far ahead, I do think Liverpool will come good at some point, but it's just about how far behind they are and if it's too far a gap to close. So brilliant. Thanks for watching this episode of Premier League Talk, guys. Quickly, here is the league table for you all to have a look at. As we can see, Arsenal at the top at the moment. Wolves are at the bottom. And don't forget, West Ham and Brentford are still yet to play tonight. Brentford can jump up above Newcastle. West Ham will still stay in the relegation zone due to their goal difference if they win. But that should be a great game. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. And I will see you in the next one. Cheers.